love my cats. I really do. Hello, everybody. Friday night. Sorry. Windows often picks the absolute wrong time to decide to just do its updates. It's more than annoying. Now my cats will seem a little bit short, but hopefully we get to see a little bit more of them now.
Conan, no. Conan.
Sometimes they're at the bottom of the screen, sometimes they're at the top of it, but yeah, winter is coming, folks. Just chilling on a Friday night, seeing what YouTube has anything good going on this evening. I guess everybody's going to the movie theaters and everything else now. Well, Bethesda's Starfield expansion called Shattered Space apparently is a big disaster. So, I don't know. Do we have any Starfield viewers in the audience? I know a lot of people gave up on the game a long time ago. I do have a good friend that plays it religiously, day in, day out. It was the same way back when we were playing Fallout. Fallout was the first game he ever played online with other people. And up until Starfield came out, he only played that one game. And now obviously Starfield came out and that's the only game he plays. I'm not saying he's playing it 24/7, but he is playing it a good 8 to 12 hours a day. I don't know. I was hoping that it would be good. And let's face it, it's not like a total disaster. When it came out, it had so many bugs. Now it's a little bit more polished, but like people are always complaining about the same thing. You go to this planet, it looks exactly like the last planet. You go into this cave, it looks exactly like the last cave. Even though like apparently 90% or 95% of it is supposed to be AI generated terrain, it kind of all feels like it looks the same. So you got millions of planets, but they all look the same. So yeah, I mean I've played some sandboxes games before. I was a big X3
Daddy's big baby
reunion groupie. I really liked it a whole lot back in the day. I played it religiously as well, like, you know, every day, couple of hours. Played it. Really enjoyed it. It was a really fun sandbox to play back in the day. I mean, I loaded it up 2 or 3 months ago. And I was wondering if I should get back into it because I kind of do miss that space sandbox genre. But yeah, it's running into the same issue where everywhere you go, it's always the same thing. It looks the same, it feels the same. So, yeah. Took it out of the box, put it back in the box almost as quickly. So, Rings of Power, another subject to talk about this week. It was the season finale. Not many people are talking about Rings of Power. I mean, it was a disastrous first season, so a lot of people tuned out. Like, it was just very, very bad. Like, Acolyte bad. For a show that apparently has a $1 billion budget, and it doesn't look like it. But we were, I was talking with friends today, and they're like, we're just talking about inconsistencies within the show. Like, they use these big catapults to put a city or a castle or whatever you want under siege. The catapults cannot break the walls. So then they turn the catapults towards the mountain. The catapults can break the mountain and the mountain falls into the river, which removes all the water instantaneously. So catapults can't break walls, but they can break mountains. I'm like, somebody didn't think about something here. Like, stuff just didn't make sense throughout the show. I mean, I remember this 10-15 minute scene where they brought back a character we saw in the first season. And right in the middle of the second season, she makes an appearance again. A big entrance. And it's like the Vader versus the Emperor scene where Vader kneels down and, yes, my master, it shall be done. Kind of a scene, And then we don't see her again for the rest of the season. Like, why am I watching 15 minutes of this if it has nothing to do with either the first half or the second half of the season? Like, it made no sense. Yeah, nope, not interested, Eddie. But hey, thank you for stopping by, I guess. So, anyways, yeah, I've been pretty... I don't know why, a lot of shows, a lot of movies, a lot of everything. I mean, I really, as much as it was fun making fun of the budget that the Lord of the Rings of Power had, like, I like fantasy genre. I like the sci-fi fantasy genre a lot. And like I said, as much as it was fun making fun of the show, with a $1 billion budget, they're going to be back for season 2. And I was hoping that they would learn from their mistakes in season 1 and actually try to come up with something good in season 2. Like, I want fantasy to succeed. I want the sci-fi genre to succeed. And it's not. I mean, the only good show we had was House of the Dragon, and that was amazing. A lot of people didn't like the second season as much as the first. The first was really groundbreaking. I mean, it's hard to live up. The first season was like a 10 out of 10. Season 2 is like a 9 out of 10. Which, okay, it's not as good as the first season, but it's still really good, folks. So, I really, really had a fun time with it. But, yeah, it's not a good show. Like I said, I spent a lot of time looking at stuff that didn't make sense. Throughout the entire season, Duran Jr. is talking to Duran Sr. And you're watching this 10-15 minute scene every episode. He's asking his dad, please remove the ring. You're not yourself, please remove the ring. Show after show after show. Episode after episode after episode. It gets to the point where I'm like, please. And yeah, I mean, finally one of them dies at the last show, so now there's only going to be one Duran. And no more talking about take the ring off unless in season 3 the son decides to wear the ring. Which I think this is where it's going. Like, as much as they know they shouldn't be touching the ring, they will. So, yeah. That's gonna be something. So, yeah. Also, I was lucky. Yesterday, I got to go to the movies and see the pre official release of the Joker 2. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but like the first one was a huge success because, we know this character. He's a super villain opposite Batman. So the movie Joker came out and was like giving some origin story, background, shades of gray to the character, which was okay. It was different. It was fresh. It was a different perspective on things. People really enjoyed it. But the movie was such a success that, okay, we're making a second one. Yeah, well, it's only supposed to be a one of. Yeah, but we need to make some money, so we'll spend some more monies to make some more monies. And nobody wanted to do it. And it showed. So basically it turns into a love story musical with some courtroom drama. Like, it's not a bad movie, but when I think of the Joker, I'm not thinking of a musical between him and Harley Quinn. Love thing. It's just... One movie was okay. If you're gonna do another movie, just bring back the Batman and, have him fight the Joker. So, the reviews have been really harsh on it. Like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's just, it's like if they're going to make a Star Trek movie, there's no starship, there's no photon torpedoes, there's no phasers, there's no warps, there's no transporters. It's just, Captain Kirk on the planet, falling in love with the local thing, and, the weather's not great, so they kind of have to build a shelter, and maybe one day they'll make some babies. It's not really Star Trek, is it? Yes, there's an episode, there's several episodes where Kirk would go to planets and fall in love. But there's a backstory. There's a starship. There's photon torpedoes. There's warp speed. There's transporter problems. You know, stuff that makes Star Trek Star Trek. And from start to finish, the movie has nothing to do with spaceships, photon torpedoes, transporters. You just see Kirk on a planet making babies with the locals and building a shelter. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't think this is the best movie I don't think this is the best Star Trek movie ever. It's not that it's gonna be a bad movie. It's just not, when you think of Star Trek and you go to the movies, it's not necessarily what people want to see. Although, don't get me wrong. I think people would go and see it just because they miss Kirk. I don't know if at his age he'd really want to, step in the shoes of that role again. I mean, sure, he'll do it if we offer him enough money, but come on. How interested are you in playing a role from 60 years ago, dude? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a lot of you guys are out this weekend and are going to see the Joker, and you're going to be like, it's bad. It's not a bad movie. It's just not the right movie for whatever it's trying to be. Man, I am 1 subscriber short. Okay, so that one's fixed. Oh, let's dismiss it. There we go. I can't downvote the movie for being good. How can I say? I just gave an example of Star Trek there, but when people went and saw like 2001 Space Odyssey, I think that a lot of people were hoping that was like Star Wars or Star Trek. And if you're hoping for that, you probably fell asleep during the first 45 minutes, where it's basically just one long Star soundtrack, It kind of feels like a musical for the first half hour, 45 minutes. And then you see, cavemen throwing bones up in the air, and you're wondering what is going on here. And I mean, if you put up with it, it turns out to be a really good space odyssey, because you've got AI, you've got the monolith, you have the unknown, you have the spaceships and the flight suits and all, everything that makes a good sci-fi. But at first you're like, man, there's hardly any dialogue. There's a lot of music. And it wasn't like your typical sci-fi show either. It was groundbreaking. It was a great movie. It's just what, like I'm saying, it's not necessarily what people were expecting by, 2001 Space Odyssey. And then if you see the previews for Al versus, I forget the main actor's name or role that he was playing in there, but there was, a back and forth that was going on that was really good. And if you see that in the advertisement and then you go and watch it, and for the first 45 minutes there is no Hal, there is no, I forget the astronaut's name. It's just it's just background noise and music, and it explains a lot of things in imagery, but You, you, that's not what you're necessarily expecting. So, great movie, not what probably people are expecting. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga are two people that have a lot of energy on screen. I just don't think that everybody's interested in a musical love story between these two. Duh. So, yeah, I don't know how this weekend will turn out. I have a feeling that people will go and see it, not having seen my review or my warning about the movie. Like, it's a good movie. But just put your expectations aside, because if you are front loaded with expectations, you're going to come out of this movie not liking it. So, yeah. Penguin. I'm really liking the Penguin. I'm only 2 episodes in. Obviously, there's only 2 episodes. Episode 3 is coming next week. But see, this is a surprise. Nobody asked for this either. Like, nobody asked for another Joker. It was supposed to be a one-off. It was that. It was good for what it was. Nobody asked for a sequel, The Joker 2, or Folie à Deux. Nobody asked for that, but that's what we're getting. Like, nobody asked for the Penguin either.
Ricky.
And I'm like, at some point, they're going to have to bring up the Batman. Not necessarily have a scene, not have him come into the series.
Let it go. Let it go.
But
Let
at
it
some
go.
point, they are going to have to reference Batman in this show. If they don't do it, they're missing the point. But so far, the girl that plays Sophia, the role of Sophia, the character of Sophia in this show just gives me the out and out creeps. Like, somehow it's supposed to be really good between Penguin and her, and I kind of feel like, I don't know, they're like, I don't know. It's either they're two different knives or they're two separate edges of the same knife. I kind of like the chemistry that goes on between the two. I like how Sophia's presence when she comes on screen just blows everybody else. Colin Farrell is doing a great job with the Penguin, but the actress that plays Sophia, the way that Sophia's portrayed on screen, has such a huge presence, and one that puts myself not at ease. I am uneasy when she gets on screen. It's like, I wouldn't say it's like, putting your nails on a chalkboard. I know a lot of people today don't even know what a chalkboard is and putting nails on a chalkboard, but it used to really make the screeching sound that was just driving everybody crazy. And when you wanted to, a lot of girls wanted to, make us feel uncomfortable in class, and they would do it from time to time just to, wreak havoc. And so she's not annoying in that kind of a sense, but she does, there's a screeching presence when she's on that. Just like, I like her and I hate her, but I like her. It's that kind of, people are afraid of this girl. Like, you're afraid, but you kind of want to like her and love her, but she's scary and not always all there. And she can be dangerous and ruthless. and disconnected. So she's all over the place, and you never know. I still don't know where this is going. Like she's in one scene after another scene after another scene, and I'm like, is this gonna develop into a romance between her and Penguin, or is Penguin gonna be forced at one point to just eliminate her because she's such an unknown wild card? One moment you're telling her, "Oh, you need to take over this crime family. You would be the best fit for this to run the show." On the other hand, she doesn't trust completely the penguins, so she might stab the penguin in the back, and he sees that maybe coming and has to eliminate her before that happens. So I'm really liking the Penguin show. It's not something I thought it was gonna be. I don't know. I don't know, but I do like it. It does have this soprano feel to it, or this Godfather feel to it, mafia vibe to it. And if it was going down that route, I would not like it either. If it was completely a mafioso thing. So that's why I'm kind of saying they do need to mention the Batman. It can't all be just, mafioso stuff. Bring it up to the next level. Bring it back to the fantasy genre. Bring it back to the superhero, supervillain level. Mastermind, something. But really enjoying it. But it does, for it to succeed, it is going to have to bring it to that next level. They just can't remain a mafia story as it is now. Yes, the Sopranos were super good, but Sopranos were Sopranos. It wasn't Batman trying to be the Sopranos. You know what I mean?
Hey, baby.
They're going to have to connect it somehow at some point. Back to the DC universe. Another nice surprise. I mean, I really like season 1 of The Tulsa King. And season 2 of it is amazing too. I'm liking it. I mean, it's, on one hand, it's very predictable, generic. Yes, there's, throughout one episode, you see this guy, he might be flipping to the other side. He might backstab our series hero somehow. You're wondering how our main character is going to react to his treacherous ways. But turns out that he's like a double, triple agent, so he pretends to flip, but he's not really flipping. So I thought, there was an inbound plot twist, but the twist was that there is no twist. He's still faithful to the main characters, so nothing happened there. Which is okay. So you're
Conan.
kind of expecting something and nothing came of that. So it's very generic, it's very predictable, there's these moments that you're not quite sure if they're going to lead into something else and how will it go there and all these things. But I am amazed. Sylvester Stallone plays a 75-year-old dude, but he's actually 78. 78 years old, folks. Stallone still has it. He's still charismatic. I don't expect him to be a Rocky sensation anytime soon. Come on, folks. Don't ask him to make another Rocky movie at 78. But he still has a lot of that same charisma going on. I love my cats. I take a daily walk with them every day. I just love them to But in any case, yeah. So Tulsa King was Sylvester Stallone. I'm amazed how Sylvester. I mean, I'm old enough. I'm nowhere near his age. But old age is creeping. There's a lot of things I can't do anymore that I used to be able to do in my youth. And I don't think that by the time I
Conan!
reach 70, 80, I'm going to be as good as he is. Ooh, we see a little bit of stuff here. This is the night that I went to go and get him. And the lady that gave me this cat filmed him just as I'm arriving in the driveway. This is me arriving in the driveway, and this is his reaction. Yawning and bawling. He's just so... He's so cute. I love him. I love him so much. He's currently sleeping somewheres. They've been outside all day today. It's a good thing because they're announcing like rain for the next 4 days. They're gonna drive me nuts. Every time that it's not raining hard enough, or that it stopped raining, even if there's a hole in the cloud for only 5 minutes, they are gonna bug me to go for a walk. And I love doing it, and I'll probably go. Because when was it? A week or two ago, it was raining for 2 days straight. And they kept bugging me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put on my raincoat, grab my umbrella, and we're going to go for a walk, cats. Well, guess what? I didn't do it the first day, I did it on the second day, and they were so miserable, stuck inside during rainy, Usually cats don't like water, they don't like rain. Well, guess what? Both of them came with me and ran around in the fields and everything else, just being their normal selves. In the rain. Like, they both look at me and, Dad, we know, it's raining. We don't like rain, but guess what? We like being outside. We can't help ourselves, so. So I was like, okay. So, over the next 4 days, I might have to grab my umbrella again. Which will be interesting to see. Like, sometimes I wonder if I'm the one that, doesn't like the rain and they're good with it. Like, no, they're not good with it, because when they're outside and it starts raining, guess what? They go and hide under the trees, and as soon as I open the door, they run inside. But then when they're stuck inside for almost 2 complete days because it's raining non-stop outside, and they blame me for it as if I can control the weather. Well, it kind of feels that way. It feels like they're blaming me for it. So, cats are a lot of fun, but they do have their quirks. So yeah, that's all I had to say about Tulsa King. So, there's a couple of good things, a couple of not so good things either. I'm just hoping that if people are going out and they see the Joker and they're not happy, that they don't leave the theater. Turn around and go and see The Wild Robot. I put out a review about this movie, and it's just really, really good. And I don't know how to express it. There's something for everyone in this movie. Like, I went and saw it, and there was a lot of parents with their kids there to see it. The kids loved it, but getting out of the theater room and hearing the parents telling their significant others that they actually probably liked the movie more than the kids did. Like, I was struggling throughout the movies not to cry of joy or sadness because there's moments of both throughout the movie, but it comes and gets you. And that's a good thing, folks, that movies emotionally resonate with the viewers. Concentrate on storytelling. And if you got a good story, good characters, this is anime, folks. And people were connecting with it. You know, a little bit like Bambi. You know, Bambi's a good movie too, and some good lessons. But yes, I agree, it's mostly for kids, whereas this is a lot more nuance. Like I tried saying in my review, it's either a children's movie made for adults or an adult movie made for children. So take it whatever way you want to. It still fits like both categories. Which is always very interesting to see. Well, I'm looking here and there's a lot of AI stuff. I mean, a lot of it is just, AI having fun. I don't know what to think of this Nautilus thing yet. I don't know if people want me to get political on a Friday night. Because I am Canadian and our politics currently is out of control. Like the speaker literally came out at the beginning of the week and say, okay, no more government business is happening this week. Or until further notice. And there's this thing called proroguing government where government can decide to close down for up to 364 days. Unfortunately, there's an official election, so next fall, so it won't be 364 days, but pretty close to it, you know what I mean? And it's unheard of. Imagine government just, nope, we're not taking any more questions, we're just gonna do our own thing, we're closing government. For a year, we're keeping our salaries and everything else. We don't answer to the people. We don't have to answer to the people. We don't need to pass new laws because you need, a majority, and currently the government isn't a majority. But if they prorogue, you can't even bring up a vote of non-confidence because nobody's sitting. But currently, even though that the Speaker of the House said no official government business is going on, there's still the question period because that's the opposition. The opposition is not in power and they still have the right to ask questions. So we still have a question period. It's just that nobody's voting for laws or for whatever, government decisions about this, that, and the other. None of that is happening. So we have a few ministers sitting in, answering right, left, and center, whatever. Basically, they're just insulting each other. Our government's been in power for 10 years. And somehow, when things don't go good, It's all the previous government's fault. Well, that works for the first year that you're in power. It doesn't work 10 years later. Like you've had 10 years to do something. If the country is worse off than it was 10 years ago, then obviously you haven't done anything good, right? And you can't blame the previous government at this point. And that's kind of what's going on here. I know most of you did not want to hear me talk about politics on that Friday night. But a lot of people have been asking me, to do stuff. Like, they want me to review more classics of what I used to like back in the day. So I guess I kind of have to do that. I already did some of it a long time ago. Maybe I need to get back to that. Like every day, either come out with a cartoon, an anime series I used to watch, or a sci-fi series I used to watch, or even a fantasy genre stuff that I used to like. Growing up, though, there wasn't that much fantasy. There's never been a lot of fantasy. But there's a few things I can kind of, mention. So, I probably need to get back into that. I don't know how people feel about it, though. Stuff that I used to like growing up. It would be an interesting concept. But yes. I really like these AI generated Star Wars and Star Trek things that they're doing in the 1950s Super Panavision 70. Some of the concepts there, you can see it, they come straight out from stuff I've seen as a kid. I remember watching Flash Gordon. If you watch Flash Gordon today, you would like, man, this is super crappy low budget. Which it wasn't. I mean, Flash Gordon is what inspired Star Wars, so it's not crappy, but it wasn't great either. But as a kid, you're looking at that and awesome. So fun stuff. Oh yeah. I know I said I wasn't gonna get politics, but our Prime Minister said something stupid this week. On one hand, he's blaming, global warming and climate change and all that stuff. And the next moment, he's blaming flying, flaming pine cones. So, what is it? Is it one thing? Is it the other thing? Our Prime Minister is so unhinged. He's so disconnected. He's so... I don't know. A good question was asked today, too. What's your favorite series of the year so far? what's your favorite movie of Snowpiercer? And I've actually had to go back and look at my reviews, and I'm having a really hard time, folks, because I really liked House of the Dragon Season 2. Not as much as, well, I think I liked it more than most folks. Like I said, the first one was a 10 out of 10, the second one was a 9 out of 10. But I think a lot of people are putting the second season like at around a 7 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10. Which I also understand. But I think that it was still so good that it was probably my favorite series. And I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say because I also really enjoyed Snowpiercer. And they just had their 4th and final season this year that just ended not too long ago, 2 weeks ago. And I really liked it. It's not anywhere perfect. It's not as good as House of the Dragon, but it's been there for 4 seasons. So I can't really point the finger at it. So yeah, it would be a tie between Snowpiercer and House of the Dragon. Yes, House of the Dragon is a much more fantasy. I mean, Snowpiercer, I think it's more sci-fi-ish. I think they're, you know, if you were to ask me my 2 favorites, those would be my 2 favorites. If you're asking me for my top favorite, I can't choose between the 2. Like, House of the Dragon is really well made. I'm not seeing all the issues in that show that I'm seeing in Snowpiercer. I mean, Snowpiercer, this last season, like, okay, the bad guys left on the train to go to the village or the settlement, and then you have this people stranded here because they detached the cars, so there's a couple stuck in the car, in the last car, that's out in the middle of nowhere. They get rescued by this 4x4 snow survival vehicle, and somehow that vehicle reaches the settlement before the train gets there, you know? And I'm like, did somebody actually think about this? Because I think the train would get there, you know, before. It's on tracks. It's going in that direction. You know, unless, you know, the train has to go in an S shape all along, and that the vehicle, the snow vehicle, could just go like in a straight line from where it was to the settlement. You know, okay, maybe they got there first. But then you also see the train has to come out of this cliff edge and is on a bridge to get to the other side. So we don't know if it's a river that's there. I mean, the world's frozen over. It's Snowpiercer. But they have to cross this place to get from one place to the settlement. And I'm like, how did the 4x4 get across there, you know? You know, it's all these questions not answered, not addressed, not nothing. We put it on screen, just believe it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's been a good storytelling from, you know, from start to finish. And yes, you know, from season 1 to the season 4, there's always a fight that starts in the back of the train and ends at the front. That's what Snowpiercer is about. It's like House of the Dragons. It's about dragons. We need to see dragons, right? Ha ha! So, yeah. So those would be my 2 favorite shows as far as movies go. I Honestly, folks, I really enjoyed The Wild Robot. Like, I think it's not only the best movie I've seen this year, it's probably the best movie I've seen in many years.
No way, Mezzo.
Like, I saw Trapped. I like Trapped. Alien Romulus was, kind of felt like a rinse and
No way, Mezzo.
repeat, trying to emulate,
No way, Mezzo.
the first
What?
Aliens by giving it a twist of the second one.
No way, Mezzo.
Trapped, it was the movie that when
No
you
way.
think it ends, it doesn't, and there's a plot twist, and
Go,
another one,
Nat.
and another one, and another one. The movie just does not want to end until it ends, and you're like, what? This is where they decided to end the movie. You know. Oh, by the way, Halo Season 3 was canceled. I thought that the second season was better than the first, obviously, but it wasn't enough to, you know, address the course correction. Wolverine and Deadpool was an okay movie. It made me laugh here and there. I mean, at that point, I like the chemistry between both, but the story had real no consequences to it, unlike Endgame. There was no gravity. I didn't I felt like this is just a movie, put these two guys together, have the chemistry, have the jokes, and that was it. So that was my expectation going in, and it's pretty much what I got. But it's not like the first Iron Man where a dude is stuck in a cave and he builds his first suit. There's no gravity, no nothing. Nothing that brings the plot line forwards or none of that. Oh, I did like the shows also Dark Matter. I don't know if that's going to get a second season. It was kind of set up for it to have a second season. I'm not sure that it's going to go there. Atlas was okay-ish. It wasn't great. I do like big robots. Atlas was, okay. Especially compared to Breathe. That was just... Even today, I've done that review over 6 months ago, and I'm still getting people replying, man, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. So, if I had to name the worst movie... Same thing with Beacon 23. The first season was just good, and I was hoping it would go there. And instead, I don't know. It's like all the writers, all the directors, showrunners, producers, they all walked out, at the end of the first season. And they hired a bunch of kids to fill in the role to shoot the second season, and what we got was what we got. It was a mess. It was shitey. Shite. I also did like Dune as a movie. So, okay, maybe while Dune is because I've always liked Dune. I like the miniseries. I liked the first movie from decades ago, even though I didn't understand half of it back then. It was still fantastic. It was still super great.
Eat daddy's baby. Eat daddy's big baby.
I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, Megalopolis was, not. So, yeah, going back, Furiosa, all these things were just, I think that, the Fall Guy was kind of like the first fun movie of the year, and I did really like Shogun too as a series. Transformers 1 was not bad. I mean, it was okay-ish, but I wouldn't say it was great. Planet of the Apes didn't do it for me at all. And I really like Planet of the Apes. I mean, as a kid, I was lucky to have a couple of Star Wars action figures, but some people had some Buck Rogers, some people had the Planet of the Apes. And the Planet of the Apes kit really looked like interesting toys to play with. They were, kinda. But I didn't have any, and yeah, they were pretty much the go-to stuff. Like, I had my Obi-Wan,
Hey,
Luke
you guys,
Skywalker, Darth
no.
Vader, Princess Leia, Chewbacca. A couple of other characters that I don't remember, that I don't know. And I had Luke's speeder. I didn't have his X-Wing fighters or none of that stuff. I just had his desert speeder. And yeah, couldn't do much in space with that. Friends had the X-Wings and the TIE fighters. I did not. I just had the land speeder. Now, even people had some of those, what was it, that sand crawler thing that they had? That was also fun. Oh yeah, longtime fan, folks, of Planet of the Apes, and yeah, it just, all the reboots haven't worked for me at all. And I even went back to some of the old ones, and even some of the old ones, like there's this one movie where they worship the nuke missile thing. I was like, man, I'm not liking this movie, and yet I still think that somehow it fitted more within the storyline than some of the things I've seen from the reboot of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, they've tried some interesting things with the reboot franchise with Oscar, and trying to make him out to be something, and it's just, I don't know, it hasn't it hasn't been a smashing success. Well, folks, I've been streaming here for an hour. It's been pretty quiet this Friday evening. So, I'm gonna call it a quits here, folks. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you all soon.